For film enthusiasts seeking hidden gems, a wealth of brilliant British cinema lies just beyond the mainstream. We're counting down 11 exceptional, overlooked films, from critically acclaimed dramas to cult comedies, that are more than worthy of being rediscovered. Today we're talking about Franco Rosso's 1980 masterpiece, Babylon, a Molotov cocktail of reggae music and social fury that puts you on the front line of the Black British experience in Thatcher's London. The establishment immediately tried to bury this film. It was slapped with an X rating in the UK and was considered so inflammatory it wasn't even released in the US for nearly 40 years. They were scared of how authentic it was. This was a watershed moment for the Black British community, a story told from the inside. It used real Jamaican patois and cast actors like Aswad's Brinsley Ford. The soundtrack, curated by the great Dennis Bovell, isn't just background noise, it's the narrative engine of the entire film. It puts the sound system culture, the community's only real voice, front and center. For decades, it was a whispered legend, a hard-to-find cult classic. Its modern restoration is a long overdue vindication. It's no longer seen as a dangerous film, but as a vital, prescient document of a community on the brink. It wasn't a dangerous film, it was just telling a dangerous truth. A reminder that a community's soul can live inside a speaker box. They can push, they can shove, they can try to shut it all down, but you can't kill the beat. Next up, we're stepping into a Liverpool pub, where the songs are the only escape from the monster waiting at home. This is the world of Terence Davies' 1988 masterpiece, Distant Voices, Still Lives. Davies throws the rulebook out. There's no plot to follow. The film drifts from one moment to the next, held together by emotion and song, the way real memories actually work. It's built on two opposing forces, the suffocating, terrifying violence of the family patriarch, and the community's one defiant escape, the ritual of the pub sing-along. Every frame of this film is a work of art. Davies composes each shot like a solemn painting. He finds a formal, austere beauty in the grim terraces and front rooms of post-war Britain. The dilapidated buildings, the worn-out furniture, every detail tells a story of a time when life was tough, but there was still a glimmer of hope. The experience is deeply personal and poetic, skipping over traditional storytelling to hit you with pure, undiluted emotion, leaving a quiet scar that speaks to the strength of the human spirit. Imagine a film that takes the raw, explosive energy of a young Tim Roth and Gary Oldman and puts them in the same bleak world as Quadrophenia's Phil Daniels. That's Mike Leigh's 1983 TV film, Meantime, a snapshot of a generation in suspended animation. This is one of the most authentic films to ever portray poverty and unemployment in 80s Britain. It captures the most real aspects of life with supreme subtlety. Director Mike Leigh builds an almost unbearable atmosphere of stagnation. Nothing really happens, and that's the entire point. It's a portrait of lives lived out in bleak flats with the drone of the TV always on, showing the quiet, soul-crushing reality of having nowhere to go. Yet even in the grimness, Leigh's signature dark humor and deep humanity shine through. Few films capture a historical moment so perfectly. This poignant time capsule is the definitive statement on being young with no future, made essential by watching a handful of acting legends take their very first steps. From the quiet desperation of Thatcher's London, we're jumping back a decade to something far more vicious. In the 1971 film Villain, Richard Burton sheds all his grandeur to become a sadistic, mother-obsessed gangster in a film that captures the rotten heart of the London underworld. The shock of Villain is watching Richard Burton shed his theatrical grandeur to become Vic Dakin, a paranoid thug who wields a razor blade and lives utterly in the shadow of his mum. It's a grimy, twisted nightmare, a portrait of a gangster whose cruelty and obsession are inseparable, and the city mirrors him perfectly. Forget swinging London, this is rain-slick streets, brutalist concrete, interiors that feel like damp tombs, a world stripped of glamour or hope. This isn't a gangster film that romanticizes crime, it exposes the pathetic, brutal reality behind it. You watch it for Richard Burton at his most fearless, and for a gangster story laid bare, raw, rotten, and unforgettable. Forget psychology. Our next film, 1972's Sitting Target, is a human bulldozer of pure revenge, where the prison break is just the first 10 minutes, of a shockingly nihilistic manhunt. Oliver Reed dominates every frame as the escaped convict Harry Lomart. His performance is pure physicality, a relentless engine of vengeance who exists entirely in motion. No inner life, no redemption, just terrifying momentum. Grim industrial wastelands and clumsy, ugly violence define the film's world. There are no heroes here. Every character is selfish, treacherous, or doomed, and the audience is given zero comfort. It's a masterpiece of minimalist brutality, stripped down to its lean, nasty essence. Watch it if you want the crime genre laid bare, raw, unstoppable, and utterly uncompromising. Next up is a film that's pure Manchester. 2000's There's Only One Jimmy Grimble, where a football-mad schoolboy's life is transformed when a mysterious pair of old boots gives him the confidence to play like a hero. The whole story hangs on a simple question. Are the boots genuinely enchanted, or just a placebo that unlocks his inner talent? That question plays out against a backdrop that is unmistakably Mancunian. The rivalry between City and United forms the film's tribal core. What makes it special is how it blends fairy tale optimism with real, kitchen sink grit. It tackles bullying and family struggles, anchored by knockout performances from a brilliant Robert Carlyle and Ray Winstone. If you love a good underdog sports movie, Jimmy Grimble is a criminally overlooked gem. It strikes a sublime balance between Mancunian grit and fairy tale hope, reminding us that heroes aren't born, they're made. Sometimes all it takes is a battered old pair of boots. A day trip to Blackpool becomes a hilarious and poignant battlefield where 3 generations of British Asian women confront their secrets in Bhaji on the beach. On the surface, it's a community minibus heading for the seaside, but inside are clashing personalities, all at a breaking point. Conservative aunties, a fiery feminist, a teenager hiding a romance, and a young mother on the run. The setting is key. The tacky, windswept promenade of Blackpool becomes a temporary zone of freedom, where the rules of their community don't apply. The film's genius is its balance. It's genuinely hilarious, but that humor is a Trojan horse. It tackles domestic violence, racism, and generational friction without ever feeling preachy, giving a powerful voice to women who were rarely heard in British cinema at the time. Joyful, defiant, and wonderfully humane, Bhaji on the Beach celebrates female friendship and resilience, proving that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply a day out with the girls. How do you capture a country having a full-blown identity crisis? In 1973, Lindsay Anderson did it with Oh Lucky Man, a 3-hour surrealist odyssey that puts Britain right on the operating table. The film follows Malcolm McDowell as Mick Travis, a coffee salesman who believes if he just smiles and works hard, he'll make it. His journey becomes a guided tour through every rotten institution of the era. This was Britain in the early 70s, on its knees. The optimism of the 60s had curdled into a national hangover of power cuts, strikes, and slow decline. The surreal, rambling structure isn't just a style choice. It mirrors a society that had lost its direction, where nothing works and no one's in charge. The whole thing is scored by Alan Price's cynical, bluesy songs, like the only sane man watching the circus burn. It's sprawling, chaotic, and not for everyone. But it's also one of the most savage and ambitious state-of-the-nation films ever made. Less a movie, and more a time capsule of a country on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Sidney Lumet's 1973 film The Offence isn't about solving a crime. It's about watching a policeman's soul, corroded by 20 years of violence, finally shatter during one harrowing interrogation. Sean Connery sheds every last trace of James Bond. He's not suave. He's a raw, sweaty, twitching wreck of a man, delivering a career-best performance. Lumet turns the interrogation room into a psychological pressure cooker, using intense, suffocating close-ups that lock you in with 2 broken men. This isn't a whodunit, it's an autopsy on a man's soul. The real offense isn't the crime under investigation, it's the cumulative damage inflicted on those who stare into the abyss for a living. It's a brave, harrowing, and forgotten masterpiece. You watch it for one reason: to witness a monumental, soul-bearing performance from Sean Connery that should be required viewing. Let's trade the grimy streets of London for the sun-bleached roads of Spain. In the hit, two assassins find their job turned upside down when their target isn't just ready to die, he seems to welcome it. Terence Stamp plays a snitch who's been living on borrowed time in Spain for a decade. His past finally catches up in the form of two hitmen, the weary professional John Hurt and his apprentice, an absolutely live-wire, peroxide blonde Tim Roth. Stamp shows zero fear. He's had 10 years to make his peace, and his zen-like calm completely throws his captors off their game. Instead of grimy London alleys, director Stephen Frears gives us sun-bleached Spanish landscapes. Every ounce of tension comes from simmering conversations and philosophical standoffs, all underscored by an incredible Paco de Lucia guitar score. The result is a brilliant existential chess match on wheels. The hit trades bullets for philosophy, crafting a profound thriller where the only certainty is the final destination. Neil Jordan's 1986 neo-noir Mona Lisa pits a low-rent gangster's romantic fantasy against the brutal reality of the London sex trade when he falls for the call girl he's been hired to protect. At the center is Bob Hoskins, a powerhouse as George. He's an ex-con who looks tough as nails, but is hopelessly romantic inside. Jordan drops him into a grimy neon-lit Soho underworld, dominated by a chillingly vicious Michael Caine as the gangster boss, Mortwell. The film is a slow, painful education in reality. George doesn't see the complex woman at the heart of the story, Simone, played with incredible depth and guarded vulnerability by Kathy Tyson. He sees only a work of art to be rescued, and the tragedy is watching that fantasy collide with the merciless world of men like Mortwell. You watch Mona Lisa because it's a perfect film. It's one of those rare times when everything lines up. A flawless script, a director at the peak of his powers, and a cast that defines the word iconic. Bob Hoskins gives a heartbreaking lead performance, Kathy Tyson radiates mystery and grace, and Michael Caine delivers one of his most chilling roles. Every element works. It's a dark fairy tale, a tragic love story, and a gritty neo-noir all at once. A true, undeniable classic. So that's 11 overlooked British gems. Which ones are you adding to your watch list? Thanks for watching VintageVerse. See you next time.